Hi everyone, welcome. In this one I want to show you how I go about adding details to cylinders. This was a request from the Discord server, so if you have this kind of tricky shapes, you can let me know on the server. You can find the link in the description. So the way I approach this task is basically simplifying and prioritizing, which means that I can forget about the curvature of the surface, as this is something I could easily get with the help of a deformer called FFD. Secondly, I could forget about the shape being a cylinder, as this is something I could do with a process called shrink wrapping, which means that I could easily turn any shape into a cylindrical shape. What that means is that I can only work on that section of the shape on a flat surface. This is going to make things incredibly easy and simple. So let's go back to Cinema 4D and add in a cylinder. That detail, it seems like, repeats around 8 times. This is going to give us a starting point. So I will select the cylinder and I will set the rotation segments to 8. I will also change the height to 100. Let me enable the wireframe mode. I'm going to remove the height segments. Remember, we are trying to simplify the process, so we should remove extra geometry. Now I will make this editable. I will tap C. I will go to the top view. I will delete that point. I'm going to also select that polygon, invert the selection and delete everything. That flat surface is all we need. Now obviously a single polygon will not be enough to, model that detail. So what we need is more geometry. So to add in more polygons, I will right click, grab the loop cut tool. I will hold down shift to add that cut to the center and then increase up the number of the cuts to 5. Now I will add in another loop around here so that I can start to work on that detail. And what I'm going to do is quite simple. I will select that point and move it up. Then I will go into edge mode, select those edges and move them down. Either way, let me set the axis to normal. Once I have done that, I will hold on Control, deselect these ones and move this down. I will go back to those points, move them up. So basically what I am trying to do is maintain the straight flow of a cylinder. This is not a cylinder right now, but at the end we are going to transform this into a cylinder, so everything should be straight. We are only allowed to move components up and down. I cannot move this to the right, I cannot move this to the left. So basically every adjustment I do should be straight, if that makes sense. Now let me drop in another loop around here. Then I'm going to select those edges, move them up, hold on Control, deselect, move these up. I will select those polygons only so that we can see what we are working on. It seems like I need to move these down just a little bit more. I will go back to those ones, move these again. I will select these, move them up. And maybe we can select these. It seems like we need to lower this down just a little bit more. Okay, I think we got the detail we need, which means that I can delete those polygons. I will say it one more time because this is maybe the most important aspect of this workflow or of this tutorial. Try your best maintaining a straight flow. This should be always straight. I'm going to add in an extra geometry around here. And then I will drop the object into a symmetry. I will set this to radial. I will set the slice count to 8. And then I will put the symmetry into a connect object. And then I will set the font mode to average and make the object editable. Now it is time to turn this mesh into a cylinder. And to do that, as I mentioned, I will be using a deformer called Shrink Wrap Deformer. But to use that deformer, first we need a projection surface and it is going to be a cylinder. I will add this one in. I will go to the object and increase up the segments to something like 100 so that it is smooth. I will hide it. Then I will select the mesh that I have been working on. I will hold down shift and add in a shrink wrap deformer. I'm going to use that smooth cylinder as a target object. And it is going to be that easy. I will right click on the object and apply the deformer. Now that we got the shape, we can lastly work on the curvature of the surface as I mentioned in the very beginning. The reason why I am doing this lastly is because it is quite easy to do it. I will hold down Shift and add in an FFT deformer. I will select FFT and going into points mode, I will go to the front view and select those points and simply scale them around until I have the same shape in the image. Yeah, that should be enough. But the problem is that if I apply the deformer directly, since we don't have enough resolution or more importantly, even polygons, especially around here, this is going to result in or may result in some artifacts. Let me show you a direct example of that issue. I'm going to dissolve out these edges and enable the FFT deformer. And you should be able to see what I'm talking about. Since we don't have resolution around the top part, it is not capable of, holding up that curvature coming from the FFT deformer. So to get around this problem, what we do is bring in more resolution, like we can control and slide these up, but this is something I do not do. I let the subdivision surface do the work for me, as this is a manual work, so this is not going to be as precise as subdivision surface doing its job. So I will put this one into a subdivision surface. I will change the subdivision amount to 1. 2 is going to be too much. By the way, that step is going to be an extra step. You don't have to go through that process. In fact, I will show you what will happen if you subdivide that mesh, the low poly mesh. So I will duplicate it and hide it. Now I'm going to subdivide this mesh. I will tap C on the keyboard. You know what? I will hit Ctrl Z because I don't want to apply the FFT deformer. So instead, I will select the mesh, right click, open up the subdivide options, enable smooth subdivision. I want one subdivision, hit OK. Perfect. Now I will enable the FFT deformer. Now that we have more resolution around here, the mesh should be smoother than the low poly version. I'm going to apply the deformer. Let's put this one into a subdivision surface. And you can see the result, no artifacts. What about the inside of those details? Well, I will double click on the edge loop, then extrude. I will tap T, scale this. I will set this back to normal. Now I will apply the close polygon hole tool. Let's select the grid. Let's try the patch mode, as this is going to give us more options. Okay, that looks great. Now I will select that loop with the loop selection tool. I will select the bevel tool. I will go into solid mode and bevel these out. I will also set this to uniform. And a loop should be enough. Well, that one is looking too sharp. Maybe we should slide that down. Well, it is not the same, but you got the point. Now, I don't want to do that 7 times, so I will double click on those edges, fill selection, invert the selection, delete, and drop this one into a symmetry. Radial mode, set this to 8, put it into a connect object. Just to make sure, I will set this to 0.3 and make it editable. And our shape is ready. If you are getting those sharp looking edges, you need to turn off the edge breaks. What about the other shape, the low poly version? I'm going to unhide it. I will apply the FFT deformer, then put the object into a subdivision surface. I will real quick add in those details. On the right, I have the low poly version, and on the left, I have the high poly version. To be honest, the low poly version looks just okay. I see subtle artifacts, especially around here and around here, but it is absolutely okay. No problem at all. On the left, we have the best one. I hope it's coming through the video, but you can see how perfectly smooth the surface is. I mean, it is up to you. if it is worth having that many polygons, you can go with the second version. But if that look is okay for you, you can go with a lower resolution. It is up to you, as I just wanted to show you the most proper way by subdividing the mesh one time. By the way, the next challenge is up. If you don't know, we have 3D modeling challenges every week on Monday. You can find more information on the Discord server. So this is going to be it for this tutorial. And if you have any questions, let me know anytime, and I will see you in the next ones. Bye.